Hello, this is Craig Beck, the Stop Drinking Expert, and today's video is in reply to an email from Jeff. Jeff asked me a question, and I think he was a little bit worried that it was too personal and he'd upset me or offended me. Absolutely not, Jeff. I talk about my personal life and how alcohol affected me in a very private way because I want it to resonate with you. I want it to connect. Because I think one of the things us drinkers feel like when we're struggling with alcohol addiction is that there's something wrong with us, that we're a freak, we're a weirdo. Because we look around and we see the social proof of alcohol everywhere. We see our friends and family apparently being able to socially drink and get away with it. Doesn't seem to be affecting their life in any way negatively like it is ours. And so we tend to judge ourselves quite harshly, and we come to the conclusion that there's just something wrong with us. We're broken. And the one thing I would say about that is that when I was at the peak of my drinking, I don't think many people knew that I had a problem with alcohol. I had a reputation for being able to handle a drink, and I was good value at parties because I would drink a lot and make a fool of myself. But I don't think anyone would say, that guy over there, he's an alcoholic. But I was miserable, I was drinking heavily every day. I was waking up exhausted every morning. My health was going downhill fast. My finances were in a mess. It was a car crash of a life. But many people would have looked at me and said, he can handle his drink. And that's the only conclusion they would come to. And so I think as drinkers, we look out and we see what we believe to be normality. We see other people drinking and apparently getting away with it, but we don't see the true story. We see the tip of the iceberg. We don't see how they look in the morning. We don't feel how they feel when they wake up and they drank again last night, even though they started yesterday promising themselves that they wouldn't. Because this is a much bigger problem than anyone imagines. This is a gigantic, life-destroying problem. And we see the very, very tip of the iceberg. So I talk about my situation because I want you to understand that the way you feel and the things you've done are not freakish or weird or unusual. They are the perfectly logical actions of someone who's addicted to a very powerful drug. So let's go to the question, Jeff. Jeff basically observed that I quit drinking and then my marriage ended, and he wanted to know if the two were connected. And it's a good question, and the answer is yes and no. Because, look, I didn't get divorced because I stopped drinking. The thing is, alcohol suppresses your life. It turns you into a zombie. And when you're in that zombified state, there are lots of things going on in your life that you're avoiding dealing with. The alcohol just turns your brain off or stupefies you to the point where you're not really capable of coming up with a solution to a problem. And because I drank for 20 years, lots of problems built up over that time that I simply didn't deal with. I had financial problems, I had relationship problems, I had health problems, I had work problems, I had problems and problems and problems and problems, and I was dealing with none of them. And we drink, or we claim that we drink to help us cope with life. But alcohol doesn't help with problems, even though it promises it does. All it does is hit the pause button for a few hours. So the next day you hit play and all your problems reappear and you go, I'll drink, and you hit the pause button again. You never actually deal with problems, and they just start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they get repressed, and then they mutate into weird and wonderful things. So when I stopped drinking, it was like a spotlight shone down on my life. And for the first time in a decade, I could see my life clearly. I could see what I was doing in my career. I could see the mess my finances was in, and I could see the solution to that. I also looked at my relationship, and I saw that it wasn't serving either of us. Neither of us were getting anything out of this anymore. It was, we were just two people who lived in a house. And that was it. That was the beginning and end of our relationship. It wasn't doing either of us any good. It wasn't a committed connection. It wasn't a partnership. We weren't a team. We were two people who lived in the same building. And we came to the conclusion that we wanted more than that. And so it's not that alcohol ended my marriage, it's just that alcohol allows you to see your life as it should be seen. And it allows you to correct problems and kind of put yourself back on the right track that you're meant to be on. So I hope that answers the question. I mean, it's not always like that. It's not that like every drinker has a completely broken and irreparable marriage. Stopping drinking. In fact, yes, I've got a great example. I did a coaching session 2 weeks ago now with a guy in Amsterdam. And he had exactly that problem. He loved his wife to death. She was just like the most amazing person in his life. And for 5 years, he'd been completely neglecting her. He wasn't interested in anything she was doing. He wasn't interested in anything that her goals, her future plans, even what she wanted to do on an evening. He didn't care because all he wanted to do was drink. And what he wanted to do was get off the alcohol so he could take all that attention that he was focusing on the booze and focus it all onto his wife. He wanted to make her feel like the wonderful, beautiful, caring human being that he knows that she is. And he knew she deserved much more than this kind of stupid zombie he was providing her. He knew that this woman deserved the very best that he could be. And that's why he wanted to stop drinking, so he could save his marriage, so he could give this woman he loved his real self, his genuine self, instead of the stupid, fat, unhealthy zombie that alcohol turns us all into. So it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. If I stop drinking, oh my God, my marriage is going to end. If you stop drinking, it just gives you the clarity, the energy, the vitality, and the focus to fix your life. And then everything gets better. Everything. All right, thank you for watching. Any questions, drop me an email via the website. Don't forget, download your free copy of my book at stopdrinkingexpert.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and spread the word. Let's deal with this iceberg. Thanks for watching. See you soon.